Hi guys, Ted Elsner, Sacramento Historical Fencing Academy. So, question got asked the other day in the comments to one of our videos, and please guys, always take a moment, like, subscribe, leave a comment on any of these videos. It helps a lot come up with things for me to talk about in the future. Anyway, the comment was left by Marcos from Argentina, and he's interested in starting a group, and specifically Marcos is interested in starting a Meyer-based group. So this changes up, a number of things that I would typically talk about when giving advice. So, how do you start one? Well, step one, find a friend. I know right now in a time of social distancing, that's kind of easier said than done, but the reality is while we can get a lot of work done on our own, until we have a second person, we're not a group. We're an individual that's just playing with swords. So you found your second person though, Marcos already has, and so you decide, okay, I want to be a Meyer group. Now we want to do a little goal setting. There's two broad ways to approach Meyer. I have my personal preference. Some people prefer a different way. The two methods, though, can basically be described as treating the weapons as individual elements or treating the weapons as parts of a greater whole, the holistic method. Now, I'm going to talk about the second because that is what, personally, I believe is the appropriate way to go with it. People will sometimes ask if I teach Meyer's longsword. And I say, well, no, I don't. I teach Meyer with the longsword. The difference being that I will pull from material in the dussac, material in the rapier, quarterstaff, dagger. The whole book has lessons that apply across weapons. Now, there are things that are different sometimes, and we'll talk about that in a future video, but the main idea is that it's a holistic system. It's one system, just like Fiore for the Italians. So working from, one part informs another. And Meyer repeatedly tells this to us in his book I'll write about this in dussac. I wrote about this thing that I'm talking about now in rapier earlier in longsword. So it goes back and forth in multiple directions. So you decide, okay, I want to do Meyer holistically. So what's the first thing that I should do? Well, personally, I think the first thing then is turn to the end of the rapier section and read Meyer's summary of the rapier combat, where he says, when you find yourself in combat with a rapier or any other weapon, here's how you're going to fight. And it's going to give you a really good idea of what Meyer is pushing for. It'll help explain some of the things that we sometimes see in longsword. Another spot that's great to look early on is jump into the, it's right at the end of the quarterstaff before going into the halberd, I think it's where it's at. Meyer talks about why he's arranged all of his devices throughout the book the way that he has, listing things with the guards that are further out earlier, but that he wants you to fight from the straight parry. It'll give you context. So you're going to go and start to read the book. At the very least, read through the longsword, the dussac, and the rapier. You don't need to obsess, and in fact you shouldn't. Don't get bogged down. Don't try and understand every single play that you're being given and put it physically. Just read through the book, okay? Then, during this time of social distancing, turn to the longsword section and the rapier and the dussac as well, and look at the individual guards, look at the individual cuts, look at the basic actions of the system, the fundamental things. Those are the four primary guards: Oberhau, Zornhau, Mittelhau, Unterhau. Look at the thrusts that Meyer talks about in rapier. Look at the pictures of the footwork and the stance that we see. He doesn't necessarily go into it in detail, but you see it in the artwork. Spend, however long we're stuck inside, working on that. Then, once that's done and you're ready to get started and you get together with your first friend to start practicing, my recommendation, rather than working through the material in the longsword or even the dussac, is turn to the rapier section. Grab whatever weapon you want to use. It could be a longsword, it could be a dussac, it could be the rapier. It doesn't matter. It's Meyer, whatever you want to approach it with. And start working his plays from the straight parry. These are going to get you up and running the most rapidly in a nice, simple, concise method where you're going to be able to fence. You're going to have an attack that you're going to parry, you're going to riposte. Start there. Work through there. Spend time there until you feel comfortable. And then you'll start to branch out further and further from that. Now, in a future video, I'm going to go over a process for building a drill. That'll probably go up in the next day or two. And that process is not going to be a historical process per se, it's going to be a modern process. And again, this is where we have to come back and ask ourselves some questions. Are we okay with that? Do we want to just do the plays and the drills as written by Meyer? Or do we want to build on top of those using modern knowledge in training and pedagogy to make our experience better? So just a quick little video, right, on the process. Get your friend, start on the solo sections while you can early on, then start into the rapier. Work through that first. After that, you can choose where to go. So hopefully this has been useful, guys. Like I said at the beginning, please like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, leave a comment down below so that we can help you out with other questions in the future. But get out there and get training.